why we said it's a problem. And let me just say this. For those of you who said, well, you shouldn't have done it in public. Tariq did it in public. He made a big mistake in public, so you get corrected in public. My DMs are always open. You could have said something to me. You could have said something to Antonio. You didn't. You know why? You like to go alone. You don't like to be a part of a team. But uplift is teamwork activity, baby. It is not just about you. This is not a space. ADOS is not a space for selfish people. It's not a space for people who are on the come up. I'm just putting that out there. It is a space for collective work and collective uplift. So let me just say let me just talk about specifically in terms of opportunity zones. In terms of opportunity zones, the program lets investors avoid the usual, just pay attention. The program lets investors avoid the usual tax on capital gains by putting their profits into so-called opportunity funds, an incentive that lasts until 2026. At least 90% of the assets in such funds must be invested in designated low-income zones, which are based on a statistical geographic subdivision known as census tracts. Other incentives kick in if the investment is held for 10 years, right? These policies almost inevitably result in tax giveaways for investment that would have occurred anyway. You just giving money. What they're saying is like you're just giving. It's a great place for white capital to put their money. Hold on, let me make this a little bit bigger so that everybody can see it. Now, this isn't a problem of just this opportunity zone stuff. It isn't a problem of just one party. Nobody has said that like, oh, it's just the Republicans. We know who's awful. We know what both parties have done and continue to do. This is no surprise to us. Although Democrats were generally skeptical, but that all changed. Let me get this other part in here for you so you can see. Although Democrats were generally skeptical at first, over time, more became sympathetic to pro-market solutions to the problem of urban decay. The Clinton administration, for example, created a related program in 1994 that set up empowerment zones. And empowerment zones were awful. See, what happens, and we're going to bring this up, is that these people, they build up these areas in a way that displaces our communities. Dr. Cosby talked about it as well in terms of what happens in Louisville. It is displacing ADOS communities, Tariq. So for you to go out front and say this, you had to be corrected in public because you went out front in a way where you didn't know enough. And you should have known more, but you didn't. That was reckless. That's not on code. When you talk about being on code, that's not on code. Let me read this next part. In their exhaustive study of 75 enterprise zones in 13 states, Alan Peters and Peter Fisher, professors of urban and regional planning, found that the tax incentives had little or no positive impact on economic growth. In my own research on Philadelphia, I found that the effect of empowerment zones was negligible. The places inside the empowerment zone boundaries actually fared worse in terms of income and employment growth when compared with similar tracts. So what we have here is that you've fallen for the okie doke. See, let me just say this. That's why we always talk in ADOS about how important it is to have a political education. A political education, that's the groundwork that we laid. So we're going to get into it. So Reggie said this, and it was very interesting. He said no one said that he endorsed Trump in terms of we're talking about Tariq Nasheed. He said what was said was that this specific policy Trump was talking about is detrimental to black community. Here, Tariq agrees with it. Tariq didn't know enough to know he shouldn't have agreed. When corrected, he became undone. And you know why he became undone? Because of ego. Let me tell you something. I strangled my ego in a bathtub years ago because it gets in the way. It's getting in the way right now. That's why I'm doing this video. I shouldn't have to do this video, Tariq. I shouldn't have to like, you know, I shouldn't have to have done the video at all. And then I go to see like what you're saying, and you say in the video that you did, Tariq, it's going to be respectful. I'm going to be respectful. But then when I get to the video, you're saying, you know, I can roast them right now. They're easy to roast. I haven't used the word roast since like 9th grade. You know, at a certain point, as a group of people, you know, serious people get serious politics. Let me say that one more time. Serious people get serious politics. And we're going to have to determine who we're going to be in terms of our politics. I'm 40 plus years old, and so is Tariq. Why are we still roasting people? Why are we still making puppets? Well, I can't say I ain't never did that. But what are we going to be? I'm going to tell you before I go on to the rest of this, this is a fork in the road. Everybody has to determine their politics. Are you going to be serious about politics and serious about your agenda? Or are you going to Jones on me? Yeah, Yvette got a big head. And yeah. And she had this in the summer of 94. And what are we doing? Why are you tearing down this civil rights case the week of the Supreme Court case? Why are you doing that? Answer me that. Why have you done it? You should have just taken it and said, yeah, you know what? Maybe I didn't think about that too much. I should have hit it more. I'm going to get it. Fam, I get it right next time. We all make mistakes. Why make a video? Why do what you've been doing all day? Now let me just, I'm going to go down the whole line of what was said. So fam, please bear with me. It might be a little bit longer than what we normally do. I understand that, but I have to address everything that was said. And people will say, Yvette, why are you doing this? You didn't ask him why he was doing that. Why'd you ask him why he was doing that yesterday? It didn't make no sense. So let me just go down the timeline. Yesterday, was it yesterday when he said what he said? What day was it? So whatever day it was, Tariq said, I got it popping. I haven't heard popping in a long, but that's neither here nor there. I got it popping. I got ADOS popping. And he said something very specific, if I recall. He said it was November of 2018 when he started using the ADOS hashtag and started co-signing us. And let me just say one thing. Antonio and I have always acknowledged Tariq. We have always thanked him for his following. We have always said, how many of you on this show have heard me shout out Tariq Nasheed and say thank you for giving attention to ADOS and what we're doing? We have always given credit because I know you want it and you deserve it because you have a large platform. We have always done that. We have never shut you out. We have never been disrespectful, even though I have had people in my ear who have said, Yvette, I don't know why you're riding with this man. He has talked about bed winches and bottom bees and all kind of stuff. I don't know how you could let this happen, and I'm not giving you any donation until you stop rocking with him. I have still always said that, you know what, he's just being supportive. Let that man be supportive and have his place in what we're trying to do. Let that man do what he needs to do. Let him reinvent himself. Let him contribute to what we're doing. I have always said that. And now I got pie on my face from everybody who said, Yvette, we told you so. We told you. And now you eat it. We told you it wasn't going to end well. And now you deal. So he said, let's go back to the timeline. He said, I started in November of 2018. I started using that hashtag. And I started getting them popping. The problem is we were already in the national news. We were already in the Inquirer. The Philadelphia Inquirer in 2018. Now, if you go to this article, one of the things that you'll find in this article is that the first thing that you'll find is that Tariq's name isn't anywhere in this article. So what you understand is, what you begin to understand is we were already popping. We appreciate the support. But it was already popping. This is me in the article, and Antonio was in there too. We have been doing people of color politics But if you want to talk about what people who have been identified as African Americans need and what we are owed, then we change the definition. It was popping before then. It was popping before then. So the whole idea of I got you popping is just silly. You supported us and we gave you credit for that support. But then you wanted to take that support and create a shadow movement so you can monetize it and not be a part of collective uplift. That's a problem. But let's go back to the timeline, shall we? So when you talk about getting it popping, one of the things that people don't understand is a level of slickness. So there was another Tariq Nasheed video that I didn't address at all. But Tariq Nasheed said this. Tariq Nasheed said this, and let me just say this. Tariq needs to, before I go there, Tariq needs to read this article. This article was October 19th, 2018. He said he got us popping in November of 2018. No, we were already popping. We were already popping. So I need you to read that article, Tariq. So as we go down this timeline, one of the things Tariq said in another video, he said, well, you know, he said, and everybody said, oh, Yvette, Tariq said y'all was a godsend. He said wonderful things about you. No, you don't no, he was way far more slick than that. You got to be on game, right? Tariq said, I thought Yvette and Tone were a godsend because, see, I was already doing this reparation stuff. And when they came, it helped me undergird what I was doing because I didn't want to do reparations at the time because it was too many bed wenches. And different people who wasn't on code. So when they came in 2018, like he said, I was already in here. Understand, I started laying the groundwork for this in 2010. Obama's Achilles heel, he's not African American. This is we have been talking about how to differentiate ourselves and our justice claim, right? Here is Antonio in 2016. Hard stance on immigration sparks a nationalism debate in Black America. Now we can go further than that, though. We don't have to stop there. This is Antonio and I 3 years ago. Balls of wealth in classroom blacks can't reach. We were talking about black wealth and the lack of black wealth and going over a cliff. Again, that's all laying the foundation of why reparations is an urgent need. Not just something that you have to, not just something that, you know, whatever. That's all. This is years ago. Here's us again. Black Economics 101. 3 years ago. A lesson on the state of African American wealth. Here's me 4 years ago. I'm kind of sick of immigrants lecturing African Americans. That's 4 years ago. This is a lot of groundwork. Here I am 3 years ago. This is our America. African Americans need to own it. Now, what you have to ask yourself is, what was Tariq Nasheed doing in that same time frame? Well, if you go to the 2030 mark of this video, you'll see that he talks about he was building houses in Haiti. He said he was building 10 houses and he already sent the paper over there. That's what he's doing. I'm building 10 houses in Haiti. I got a documentary. I'm building 10 houses in Haiti. I sent the paper over there. I already sent the money. I don't know what happened with the 10 houses. It's not my responsibility to maintain accountability of Tariq Nasheed. But that's what he said he was doing while we were doing this. He was doing that. Now here's the thing. What he'll say. Here's the bait and switch. He'll say, I was talking about reparations. I've always been talking about reparations, but hold on. I think every black person has probably talked about reparations. It's how you anchor it. It's how we talked about it, who was going to be included, who was going to be excluded, right? And what would be the basis? We've always said that you can't base reparations on melanin. It's based on accrued disadvantage and slavery. That's what we've always said. But here was Tariq Nasheed in his defense, trying to say, I was here first. He's trying to take credit. Now, we didn't do that. We let Tariq come all the way in. We never try to take credit. I pushed back against people who said he shouldn't be in there, but he's over here trying to take credit. So here he goes. I've been talking about reparations. Yeah, but your whole thing, when you talk about it, you talk about melanoid Americans. That's the opposite. That is the opposite of what we say. That is the opposite of what we say. We don't say anything about melanoid Americans because that is connected to melanin. That is connected to everybody with brown skin. We had to undo this stupidness to make a reparations claim. So in terms of even how you were talking about it, you were talking about it the wrong way. You were talking about it in a way that did not make sense. Let me tell you something, fam. Let me see if I can grab them right now. Hold on 1 second. 1 second, please. I want to see how many of y'all remember this. How many of y'all remember when I brought out the crayons? How many of y'all remember that, to show you that like melanin and melanoidness is not the foundation for a reparations claim? How many of y'all remember that? I brought out all the crayons and I said, regardless of complexion or melanin, that ain't got nothing to do with the reparations claim that we make. Nothing to do with nothing. That's why I brought them out. Part of the reason I had to bring them out is because of people who had created stuff called Melanoid Nation. That's not a foundation for anything. I understand you were making your thing, and you were making your 1804 documentary, and everything was about Haiti, and I understand that. But we had to undo all that. Because everybody with melanin thought that they were going to come in here and have reparations. So we had to undo the mess you made. Now I just wanted you to understand the timeline. That's all. We've been here. We've been here laying the framework. Let me just make sure. I got to go through everything today because I can't. I'm sorry, fam. Normally I just jot down and look at it and I glance. No. I got to make sure I get every point. Sorry. Now let me get to something else. Once we understand like what the foundation was. I want you to understand something else. This video that Tariq made was very disrespectful. And I don't know what kind of code y'all on to think this is on code. I don't know what kind of code y'all live by. But this video was extremely, and I'm going to see if I can find, because I'm trying to find something while I talk to y'all. Because, you know, we have never done anything untoward to Tariq, but he went off about this article, this ADOS article. And he said some very disrespectful things, some things that I have never said to him and never would have said to him. He said that we, you know, Antonio and I, we just ain't never had no shine. You know, y'all ain't never had no shine, and y'all ain't used to shining, and so you don't know what's like to shine. So I saw Tone around here. Talking about, oh, what a great thing it was, Tone. This was not a good look. This was not a good look, Tone. You have no idea what you're talking about. Understand what Antonio was saying. Antonio was saying we have gone through a lot. From being called bots, to being called right-wingers, to being called white supremacists in blackface. We have gone through a lot. We had a successful conference, and the conference was so successful, a New York Times reporter was there, and she wrote a piece basically in the mainstream media, which, yeah, of course, it's the mainstream. It's some stuff, there's going to be some stuff in there we don't like. But the acknowledgement was that these are not bots. These are actual people who have an actual agenda, who are actual working class and populace. That is an acknowledgement of who we are. you can't dismiss us anyway in the way that you have, because we're here. That's not any kind of Tone being braggadocious or Yvette being braggadocious. That's just saying they have to acknowledge us. We showed up as real human beings, and we here now. They have to acknowledge us, and that's what they did, and they saw us in real time. I don't understand how that is a problem for you, Tariq. I don't understand. I especially don't understand because, you know, everybody says, well, y'all should talk. Reach out to Tariq. Tariq said something. He slipped and said a little bit of something during the video that he tried to swallow back. I ain't got to reach, and he swallowed the whole sentence back. Go look it up. Go look back at it. Right? The real issue is we did reach out to Tariq. Antonio did, because I know how people are. I've seen the little stuff little slick stuff y'all say about me. And I don't say nothing. I don't ever bring it up. I don't bring up none of the little slick stuff y'all say about me. So Antonio reached out to Tariq to come to the conference. Tariq said something about checking his schedule. Then he never came back. I don't know how that's on code. I don't know how, and I know that there are other times just with little stuff to do or whatever, Antonio has kind of reached out. I don't know how any of that is on code. See, it would be different. It would be different if Tariq said, hey, I want to come, but I want to speak. And I want to have a leadership position in what y'all are doing. And we said no. That's not what happened though. And if Tariq had reached out to us and said, yeah, I want to do this, but I want to have, we'd have had to give it to you. Hey, bro, you support it. So, hey, let us know what you want to do. We'll figure it out. I asked Antonio, I said, hey, we reached out to Tariq. Did he reach back? And Antonio said, well, he said he got to look at his schedule. I said, that's kind of interesting. Okay, well, let me know if he reached back. He don't reach back, though. Next thing I know, right, he's been talking about FBA, and they're the same thing. FBA, but I don't know, FBA, I use them interchangeably, or whatever he said. But you don't reach back in terms of the conference. Right? But we're supposed to be on code. We the same, we on code. I don't know how on code that is. And I don't know why he has a problem with that New York Times article, because the first half of the article, for the most part, is about the data of how bad off ADOS are, especially in terms of other immigrants and so on. There's a lot of good stuff in the first half, and then there's some stuff we don't like in the second half. But it's our responsibility in terms of how we behave and how we move to correct that. And the stuff that was in that article about how bad we are off, that data, nobody really wanted to talk about that. So you have to see that as, yeah, that part of it is a win. We got to keep working, but that's a win right there. That's a win that we got that part in there. Now let's keep pushing to make sure that we don't do anything. And we stay on message. And that we say discipline so that they can't keep saying,